didn't tell his players. He said he talked to some of his players on the phone, and then you watch the press conference with him at Louisville, and you start hearing how he had been talking with Petrino at least for another day or two before that, maybe longer, about Petrino's next step. And, he said Petrino wouldn't tell him the name of the school at first, but it was a place they could win a national championship. So you figured it was in the works. But yeah, I think he just kind of hightailed it out of town. But, he did what was best for him, and it ultimately did what was best for UAB as well.
Well, Drew, I'm not going to argue with you there because, a lot of people questioned his fire since he's been at UAB as far as getting out and promoting the program. And, let's just start there. He's gone now, and UAB's looking for a new head coach. Where does UAB go from here, and what would be the reason a guy would want to come in and take this program over?
Well, a lot of people are interested because it is an FBS head coaching job, and you really have to understand what you're getting into. That the facilities are not very good, and I think they're going to be trying to start a fundraising drive to improve some of them. Legion Field is what it is. Even if you're winning, you may not get 25,000, 30,000 there. I'm not really sure, but it is an FBS head coaching job, and that's what the big draw is. So, that's kind of the draw, but the right candidate kind of has to know what he's getting into, and usually the candidates who are being mentioned the most are guys that are probably like that.
Well, Drew, we've heard, and other coaches come in, and there was talk that Fisher was going to be the coach. Jimbo Fisher was going to be the coach several years ago, but the deal didn't fall through, and there was talk about the board of trustees and how they are not going to allow UAB to truly become a competitor, being in the state of Alabama. Is that the general feeling, or how do you get around that?
Well, I think as far as not allowing UAB to be a general competitor, that probably ties down more to facilities and an on-campus stadium. I believe that Brian Mackin hired the number one guy he wanted to hire last time in Garrett McGee, and I didn't get here until October of 2012, several months after. But, when he was hired, hey, here's this hotshot up-and-coming coordinator from an SEC school. And, I'm not really sure how much he sold. I think he really did get out and sell the program early on in his tenure. After that, I'm not really sure what happened. But it just turned pretty sour for both sides, I think. And the only thing, UAB is going to come out of this with a $550,000 buyout. They're going to come out of it with a guy who is probably going to be a better head coach than what they had the last 2 years, maybe even the last 7 years.
We've got Drew Champlin on the phone with us from AL.com covering the UAB Blazers. Drew, again, it hasn't been done. I think UAB's been to one bowl game in their history. The coaches, you're right, it doesn't matter what your resume is if you don't put your full fire in the belly into the program. And like you said, for whatever reason, I think Garrett McGee's fire burned out maybe a couple of years ago. So obviously having somebody in there that's passionate about the program is a better step. And, I want to go back to Garrett McGee. I mean, is this a culture that is just part of being around Bobby Petrino, leaving in the middle of the night, not handling business the right way? You would think eventually these guys selling themselves out to be around Bobby Petrino, they're going to hit a dead-end street eventually one day, and people are going to remember this. And it doesn't matter what your situation is and how you felt as far as maybe what the university did for you or what they didn't do for you, but some things you just got to handle in a professional way, and that was not professional on Garrett McGee's part.
No, and it kind of, you hear the saying, birds of a feather flock together or something like that. Not very good metaphorically, but, he coached for 4 years under Petrino at Arkansas, and they worked together at other places before that. So, it wasn't the best way to do it. I kind of think what he probably should have done, it was maybe tell Brian Mackin the night before, because he knew the night before he was going to go to Louisville. Tell Brian the night before, get a players meeting at like 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. and then say, hey, I'm leaving. And that's that. A lot of people ridicule James Franklin at Vanderbilt for leaving. Well, he at least told his players he was leaving. Now, bear in mind, everybody finds out everything these days from Twitter because, there's college football scoop, coaching search websites seem to be way out in front of everything, but that's just kind of how it goes. It could be if UAB hires a current head coach, that school's players may find out about it on Twitter before anything else.
Well, let's turn the page, and who does UAB looking at? We understood that Eddie Graham was going to be interviewed. We've heard Bill Clark's name bandied about. Where do you believe UAB will maintain their search?
Yeah, it's going to be, they're going to interview Eddie Graham, and the offensive coordinator at Cincinnati, who's got a lot of ties down here in the Southeast. Coached at Auburn for a long time, Tennessee, Florida State, Ole Miss. And then John Neal, the secondary coach at Auburn. He was an assistant at UAB from 95 to 03, and then has been at Oregon since then. Clark is a guy that I do expect to get an interview. I do expect UAB to ask to interview him. He's a guy that, he led Jacksonville State to an 11-4 record. Somebody, one football scoop reported Monday morning Bill Clark was done deal. He's going to be the next head coach. Well, that wasn't true. But with a guy like Clark, he's a defensive guy, 4 or 5 years as D coordinator at South Alabama, high school coach at Prattville before that. He's got great connections, and he's been successful everywhere he's been. They had to build South Alabama up from scratch. So, that's another guy they're going to be looking at.
Well, Drew, not to put you on the spot or anything, but just be honest with us. Is this a program that you can win 7, 8, 9 games a year? Not every year, but occasionally, and get this team to a bowl game? Can you get the kind of recruits that you need in Division I college football to be competitive? And can you establish a fan base where you can start bringing crowds in? I'm not talking about 40, 50,000, but at least 20,000 on average to some of these games. Are those all attainable goals?
Yeah, I'm not really sure if it can be pulling out 9 and 10 win seasons every year, especially if they're not getting an on-campus stadium. I do think more people would support a winner. So if they're starting out and if they're having a chance to go 7-5, qualify for a bowl game every year, then you'll start seeing more people come out. Even though Legion Field, it is where it is. Everybody knows where it is. It's not in a very good part of town, but I think more or less a lot of the crowds dwindled last year because they didn't have any faith in that team becoming a winner under Garrett McGee. And it really just it's going to start with that game 1 at home against Troy. It's going to be a new head coach. Don't know who it's going to be. Don't know if it's going to be a name that brings that excitement or not. But I think if they just get a good person who relates well, like a Jared Haas, basketball. Everybody likes Jared Haas, and it's not like they're ranked or anything, but they're playing pretty good basketball for the most part, and they're getting some good recruits. It's going to be tough to get in great recruits just because the schools that are recruiting against UAB are going to use facilities as an excuse, but they're going to get enough good players to compete. So yeah, I think running off strings of 6 and 6, 7 and 5 seasons are possible. It just hasn't been done the past few years because they didn't have the right coach.
Well, Drew, a lot of good stuff here, and again, we want to thank you for taking some time out this afternoon to talk about the situation at UAB, and we all look forward to seeing how this thing plays out, and look forward to having you on again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Drew. That's Drew Champlin from AL.com that covers the UAB Blazers, talking about the coaching search at UAB. A lot of names out there. Who does UAB end up with? And can UAB turn the corner finally as a program? Will they have enough support? We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll be in the SEC update segment. A new defensive coordinator at Georgia. When we come back, we'll tell you all about it. Stay tuned. More of the Tuesday edition of Sports Call coming your way right after this.